Welcome to Stop My Crisis. I'm your host, Vivian Gaspar. In this country, 44 million Americans have outstanding student loan debt. That is a crisis. And here with us today is John Philip Festa, who has been a practicing physician assistant for over 22 years. In 2016, Mr. Festa was voted the New Jersey Outstanding Public Education Physician Assistant of the Year in recognition for his work preparing college students to achieve their dream of a career in the PA profession. His new book, Reveal the Physician Assistant Within, is the basis of the curriculum for the Excell Pre-Physician Assistant Clerkship Program, which he has founded. Mr. Festa, thank you so much for helping people understand that there are alternatives to have more certainty with the career path that they choose when they go to college. Well, to cut down on some wasted student loan debt, because it does happen. What compelled you to create this pre-physician assistant coaching program?
Well, as you mentioned, Vivian, 44 million Americans have student loan debt. And that the amount of that student loan debt is $1.5 trillion. And that's actually more than double the consumer credit card debt. And it is the second highest amount of consumer loan following mortgages.
So that's even more than the credit card crisis people talk about. Yep. And it goes even deeper than the debt. I mean, it's also your time invested. If you start off in one career path and then you change your mind for whatever reason, you now have more time that you have to repeat, not just the amount of debt you accumulate. So it's so much more than just debt, though, because mortgage, at least you're buying a home that you live in for years. It's the roof over your head. And so that you're telling me that this debt represents the course that someone's taking on for their whole career path.
Yes.
So that's certainly much more important than credit card debt. But I don't know if everybody realizes that, because you're always hearing on TV these ads about consolidating credit card debt. But you're saying this is far more important of a decision. You choose the right path and you're using the money more wisely.
Absolutely, because mortgages and other consumer debt is collateralized by your home. But student loan debt is collateralized by your future earning potential, because that is all there is to back that up. And if you have a cosigner, that also jeopardizes their future. I'll give you an example. Students graduating college in 2015 will have to wait until 75 to retire at this point, based on the student loan debt. And then the parents as well, who co-sign that, now also jeopardize their future, which they've worked so hard for, their future retirement.
So if for any reason whatsoever, the cosigner, usually the parents, normally, if the student, the child of the parents, for any reason they cannot make their obligation to pay back that debt after they get their degree, the parents are on the hook typically.
Yeah.
And they have to pay, and these aren't small payments. What do the typical payments look like?
The average payment is $350 a month. The average loan is $39,000. However, that includes all sectors of education, from one-year programs through 4-year programs. So if you have a 4-year program, clearly your debt is higher.
So if you're talking a 4-year program, $350 could be on the low side a month. But if you wanted to be in the medical field, and you know that obviously that's going to, more years of schooling, more debt. What is the average amount of student loan debt for someone who comes out being an MD, for example?
Okay, for physicians, student loan debt is typically $400,000.
Wow.
With the average salary of a physician being $200,000. As opposed to, say, a physician assistant's average salary is about $100,000. And to the high end, after experience, $150,000, and also beyond that, I know physician assistants have been in excess of $200,000, but the student loan debt for physician assistant is $100,000.
That's amazing ratios if you think about it.
Yep.
I mean, for an MD, you're paying $400,000, and your average, people sometimes go into private practice, or they work in a hospital, in a group. I understand there's different ways they can work. But to make $200,000, we're obviously talking about a gross salary, and you have obviously life. And I've actually met people in their 40s and 50s who are doctors, MDs, still paying off their student loan debt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that typical?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And even if you're in private practice, for example, where your income is going to be higher, your expenses are higher. You have to worry about workers' comp, staffing, rent,
malpractice insurance.
Of course, yeah. And if you're in private practice, you're paying that yourself, as opposed to working for a group where you might get a group rate, or a hospital where the hospital picks that up.
So but how is it a better idea or a good alternative to be a PA instead?
Well, the ratio of debt to income, as you mentioned, is really good. But the profession itself is an excellent profession because it has a great work-life balance. You don't really have to deal with the administrative or business end of medicine as much. It's also a shorter period of time. Typically, physicians take about 10 to 12 years to become a physician in their total education, whereas a PA can do it in 6 to 8 years.
Wow, 10 to 12 to be an MD.
Yeah,
And that's not even talking about going into surgery or something more specialized.
correct.
That's just 10 to 12.
hmm
And then to be a PA is a third less.
Yeah, roughly. And it depends on the program you choose because PA programs are between 27 and 34 months
Wow,
in duration.
that's definitely a savings. And of course, obviously, people have to remember it's a wonderful idea and a professional choice to become an MD. But and typically, if you want to have a family, what happens? That means aren't you putting off starting a family till you're older? And unfortunately, for women, that's the ones who create the
Yeah.
families. That could potentially pose health risks if you're now starting childbearing time and you're mid 30s or higher. Is that what you've seen?
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things that are attractive to becoming a physician assistant is that you have a variety of choices. First of all, as an MD, you are limited to the specialty that you choose, which is great if that's what you want to do for the rest of your life. It's fine. As a physician assistant, however, if you're young coming out of PA school and you're 25 years old and you want to work in, say, cardiothoracic surgery and carry your cell phone, I used to say pager, but there's pagers anymore. So, but you carry your cell phone, 7 days a week, and you want to do that, that's fine. But maybe after 6, 7, 10 years, you don't want to do that anymore.
You can then vacationing. How do you vacation relaxed? Well,
I mean,
you don't have that. You have that hanging over you.
Maybe when you're younger, you can do that. But as you get older, you might want to change, or you may have an interest change. The thing about physician assistant, the profession, is that you can go to any specialty that you want. So a good fit for, say, cardiothoracic surgery would be to go into cardiology. So you're not in the OR anymore, you're working in an office, but you could go to dermatology if you wanted to. You can do any switch of specialty.
Now, people talk about money as an arbitrary thing. Oh, it's just more, but what is the real effect that you've seen? Because when someone's carrying this level of debt, I mean, there has to be a percentage of these students, for whatever reason, they're now in their 20s, 30s, after they finish school, that for whatever reason, maybe they get sick. People have car accidents, people have diseases that come upon them. There's reasons. That their parents, the co-signers, now have to take over these payments as the co-signer.
Sure.
What have you seen that the ramifications are of that happening?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, one of the ramifications is that the parents now are responsible for the debt, and that's going to put off their retirement. It's going to put off, first of all, their lifestyle, their quality of life. So, when your child is 25 years old, in fact, 25 to 30, 28% of students 25 to 35 years old, graduates, are living home with their parents. So there's that aspect as well.
They're probably in their 60s and 35-year-old living at home.
Yep, in the basement.
Or maybe their old room.
Yeah, that's true too. But the thing is that that puts a strain on their ability to save even for their retirement, much less the fact they have to take out of their retirement account, perhaps, to pay this debt down.
Or what about if it's unfortunately makes it more challenging for them to pay their regular bills? Yeah. They're now in their 60s or maybe even 70, depends on how much student loan debt we're talking about. If you're talking about them being overly generous and co-signing for MD level doctorate school. Yeah. And now maybe they're having difficulties, they want to retire, but they have to pay their mortgage still. Yeah. Maybe they had to remortgage their house to even assist further. Sure. They're not taking the vacations they've been looking forward to for the last 40 years while they were working.
But the money that you're talking about, medical school, $400,000, that's a huge sum of money. But even a college graduate from undergrad, you're talking about $39,000, $40,000, $50,000, $75,000. That's a lot of money too. I mean, and most people, that would have a serious effect on their lifestyle. And that causes stress between family relationships as well. There are falling outs between children and parents. Sure. And then it goes beyond that too. It goes animosity developing between spouses as well.
It's not just parents. Parents could start having some animosity toward their kids. What did you do to me?
Exactly.
How did you affect my life?
Exactly.
I mean, and we're in our 60s and we still have someone in our 30s living with us. Where's our privacy?
Sure.
And we're supposed to be empty nesters.
Yep, exactly.
What happened?
And the point too of our program is that we try to give students a feeling or an idea of what the PA profession is, because if you go into a professional program versus say a liberal arts degree, but if you go to a directed program, law, engineering, medicine, physician assistant, the job opportunities out there are much greater. And for PAs, our job opportunities are growing, expected to grow by 30% between 2014 and 2024.
Wow, 30%?
Yeah.
Is that nationwide on average?
Nationwide and beyond, they expect as well.
So there's something that you could feel that they're going to spend the money and time and energy to go to college in the various levels thereof.
Yes.
But at least they'll feel confident that they can then get a job afterwards.
Exactly.
And so many times you're hearing reports that people graduate from whatever their focus was and they can't find a job.
Exactly. And with the physician assistant profession, the market is growing so fast. I believe it's a U.S. News and World Report calls it the number 3 fastest growing career in the country, and Forbes calls it the number 1 career in the country.
That's very impressive.
Yes. And in fact, healthcare in general is considered the number 1 sector in the country in terms of being a job with job security and recession proof, so to speak.
Now, I know a lot of people watching are probably wondering, wait a second, we thought it was doctors and nurses and, well, everybody else you might find in a hospital, radiologists, for example, or x-ray techs or whatever. Let's start with defining, what is a PA?
Okay, a PA or a physician assistant is a medical professional that's trained in medicine. We take our courses with medical students often in the same classroom. Basically, it's a master's level medicine program, and as opposed to a doctorate. We have a didactic portion, just like physicians do in their training, and we also have a clinical portion like physicians do. What physicians have, though, is a residency portion that's after medical school itself. We do that in our last year of PA school. And we work under the supervision or with the supervision of a physician.
And so you're working with the supervision of a physician, rather. And what are the limitations? I mean, I always like to bring out what's the positives as well as the negatives, so you know what you're getting into.
Absolutely. So the way the physician assistant profession works is we take a national board. Physician assistants take a national board that tests our competency, and that covers how much or what we can do. Essentially, physician assistant can do everything, or is trained to do everything a physician can do, except we can't be first surgeon. There has to be a first surgeon in the room, but PAs can be second surgeon. Then it goes down to the state level where the state puts its restrictions on practice, and then it goes institutional, and then to the physician themselves.
So they're really getting a lot of benefits with extremely little limitations, but I believe that the benefit you mentioned of having a higher quality of life with a lot less financial burden, and of course a third of the time invested in going to school, really outweighs the little bit of negative that you just outlined. I mean, to me, that's positives really outweigh the negatives. So I also wanted to know, when you're talking about the schooling, what does your program offer? You mentioned this program, and now I'm very curious.
Sure.
Tell me about the program.
Well, the program is a 4-month program, and it is 200 hours, a clock hour program. And what we provide is the experience that physician assistant or pre-PA students need to even apply to PA school. We provide a shadowing experience and a direct patient contact experience, both of which are required to apply. We also then do didactic training online, where we do training for how to write the personal essay, which is actually the most important part of the application to get you into PA school.
Is it, wait, I gotta ask, is it difficult to get into PA school? What are the statistics on acceptance?
Sure. In 2015-16, there were over 190,000 applications put into PA school with 8,600 enrollments. So that's about a 4.5% acceptance rate.
Wait, only 4.5% of all applicants are accepted into PA school?
Yep, that's true. Yes.
That's a very, very small fraction.
Yep.
How do you assist an applicant on raising those numbers of acceptance?
Well,
to what level?
Well, the success rate of our program of having students accepted to PA school is 97%.
So you're taking someone from 4.5% to 97%?
Yep.
That's incredible.
Yes, and we do that using the psychology of communication, neurolinguistics, and we teach them basically how to communicate and utilize the experiences that they get through our utilization part of our program, patient shadowing, PA shadowing, and patient experience, and taking that and using that to create a connection of rapport with the interviewers. And while they're doing that, learning that sort of psychology of communication, they are also growing in their own way of how they relate to patients. And the idea is to have them to feel as if they are truly a PA already. We give them experiences working on a healthcare team as well, and hence reveal the physician assistant within.
That makes so much sense. Is there a lot of hands-on? Is this just an online course? What is and I understand that you have the shadowing, of course, that's a component.
Yeah.
And the book, tell us about the book and is this a workbook? How does that work?
Well, the book is basically the program curriculum. And I put it out there because I wanted students to have an opportunity to get a feel for what we do. And the book in itself is very helpful. The full program, of course, would be much better because it is practical. There are 3 phases to it: direct patient contact, and that includes doing quality of life surveys on the patients and reporting to the healthcare directors team at the facilities that we have. We have 22 facilities in New Jersey that we partner with, and about 10 physician assistants that work with us. Part 2 is the physician assistant shadowing part we discussed. And we really, shadowing is what they need on the application. We provide mentoring. Our physician assistants stay with our students and are available to them throughout their career.
And mentoring is tremendous.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a mentor myself, and it is very important. And the third part would be the didactic portion, something like 40 modules online that talk you through how to write your essay. We do an essay review, what to expect at an interview, and then the advanced interviewing techniques. And then finally, we do mock interviews with the program as well, which are videotaped. And the student then will be able to view their performance and the critique, which is also on the videotape.
So it's very comprehensive. This is
Yes.
not just a couple hours.
No, it's a 200-hour program over a period of 4 months. We make it user-friendly. Students don't have to quit school or quit their jobs to do it. The schedule is extremely flexible, and we work around their schedules because we understand what they're going through. We've been there.
So you've grown this from being localized to national, and is that the level that you're looking to expand in and take it on?
Yes. At this point, we have our program is in New Jersey. The clerkship program itself is only in New Jersey. I have one site in New York, however. But the online programs, and we do have everything we offer from the didactic point of view, is available throughout the country online, including an online coaching program, which is an 8-week program that we provide 1 hour a week with the PA doing a discussion on the topics in the book, topics that we cover in the clerkship program. And so a student in California would have access to a PA to talk to and ask advice for beyond what we just teach you in the program. They'd be like your coach.
That is so really, really helpful that you have this ability to help people nationwide. I mean, this is a TV show that airs nationwide. So you want to make sure that everyone who is watching you right now does have the availability to take advantage of it.
Absolutely.
And especially I just find it really helpful that so many times students are just thrown into an area, but the mentorship aspect that you mentioned, I think is critical. What have you noticed to be some obstacles that your program is having to take something from only a 4.5% acceptance rate to 97%? What do you think are the top key factors to make that huge leap?
Well, I think one of the things is that most college students don't really have any idea of how to have a professional interview, interview for a profession. And PA school is also very unique, and so that interview is also unique. They're really looking for, if a student has made it to the interview table, they deserve to be there. But now they have to convince and show the PA interviewers that basically they have the right kind of personality to be a PA. It's about empathy and caring and compassion, but you don't really want to say, my greatest quality is empathy, because the conversation's over. So we teach them how to use their experiences and actually paint the picture for the interviewer so that they actually determine, wow, this person, very empathetic, and like me. Again, we try to get that shared experience, one of the techniques we use. Shared experience being, basically, what's your greatest quality? Rather than saying empathy, talk about an experience you had that displays your empathy. And I guarantee you, first of all, that PA interviewer has had a similar experience. And they'll start to basically feel you, to use the colloquialism.
Can you give us one or two quick stories on a student that has emerged from the program just feeling more enlightened on how they can just, I'm still stuck on the 4.5% to 97%.
Let me tell you
That's just
something.
a miraculous number for me.
The hardest thing to do is when we have students that are too shy. They have a great GPA. You can tell they're a good person, but they're just too shy. And it's so difficult to pull personality out of someone who's really shy, but we've done that. We've had a student that was shy, and her grades were actually, we counsel with grades as well, do academic counseling. It took her 3 tries because of this thing. This issue with the personality, getting the personality out of her. And in the meantime, she did have to build her grades up. But it was the most exciting thing to know that you got someone who I would have to say had no shot, only because of shyness, and then deciding to change her career later in college to PA. But to get that person in school, and then indeed every time we get a phone call, often we're the first person they call, not even their parents. So
but you're the ones who have to get there.
Yeah.
Parents may have helped pay for it.
Yeah.
When it's nice and parents are encouraging, but you're the actual facilitator that got them to the level of they were accepted.
And that's the thrill of it. That's why we do it.
I mean, you're just lighting up with why you're doing it. The why is on your face.
And in fact, we have relationships with our students that last for years. Our first student, my wife and I still have dinner with her every 3 or 4 months just to catch up. And this is someone that I mentored myself when it was just me, one facility, and one student 6 years ago. And we still get together. She's a PA now for 3 years, and she's like a daughter to us, And they all are. They're like our kids.
Congratulations on having a program that you gave birth to, you created. It was something that was a genius moment for you, but it's truly helping people change their lives, which of course is the medical field. So the ripple effect is immense.
Yeah.
Congratulations, John. Great job.
Thank you.
And that is how, if you listen to someone like Mr. Festa, who's now created an amazing curriculum to choose an alternative career that might be something worth looking into, there's so many different ways that can stop your crisis.